Willa Porter's hand shook as the cold steel of the revolver dug into her ribs. Her breath caught in her throat like a frightened little bird. At 19 years old, her very first kiss had just been stolen by a desperate outlaw. The man's rough, loveless lips had crushed hers, while the stagecoach robbery exploded around them in a cloud of Arizona dust. It was 1883. "Please," she whispered, tears carving clean tracks down her dirt-streaked cheeks. "Take the money, but leave us alone." The bandit, wild-eyed and a bandana barely hiding his face, let out a dry laugh under the blazing afternoon sun. He'd already snatched her father's pocket watch and her mother's locket, the only keepsakes from the life they'd left behind in Boston. But he clearly wanted more than the strongbox rider's cash. "And ain't you just the prettiest little thing?" he growled, grabbing her arm to yank her in for another stolen kiss. A gunshot cracked the air like thunder. The bandit staggered back, eyes wide, then crumpled into the dirt. Willa gasped and stumbled back against the stagecoach wheel. "Everybody all right down there?" a deep voice called from the ridge. Willa looked up and saw a rider with his rifle still raised, face hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. He rode down the slope easy and calm, scanning every shadow for danger. As he got closer, Willa realized he was younger than she'd thought, maybe 25, sun-browned skin, storm-gray eyes. His coat was dusty from the trail, and a bright silver star gleamed on his vest. "Colton Wilcox, Deputy Marshal," he said, swinging down from the saddle in one smooth move. "Heard the ruckus while I was ridden patrol. Looks like I got here just in time." Abraham Porter, Willa's father, stepped forward and offered his hand. "Abraham Porter, my wife Laura and my daughter Willa. We're mighty grateful, Deputy." Colton nodded, but his eyes lingered a second longer than proper on the girl's face. Something in his look made Willa's heart stumble. She quickly looked away. "Where you folks headed?" he asked while helping Ben Tate, the driver, calm the spooked horses. "Silver Creek," Abraham answered. "I'm the new school teacher." Colton smiled then, a real warm smile that softened his hard desert face. "Well, I'll be. Town, been waiting near 6 months for a teacher. You've got about an hour left." Ben cleared his throat impatiently. "If we're done with the howdies, let's roll before that fella's pals show up." He jerked his chin toward the dead man, Jeb Reeves. Colton nodded. "I'll ride alongside and see you safe into town." As everyone climbed back aboard, Willa watched Colton swing onto his horse. There was something about him, a steady calm, a quiet strength that both unsettled and comforted her. He caught her staring and tipped his hat. Willa's cheeks burned. "Miss Porter," he said softly, riding up to the window. "First time out west?" She nodded. "Yes, sir, all the way from Boston. Pa says the West gives a man a fair chance if he works hard." "Your pa ain't wrong." Colton's smile crinkled the corners of his eyes. "But it's a different world than you're used to." "I'm startin' to notice," Willa admitted, touching her lips without meaning to, remembering the forced kiss. Colton's face hardened. "That man hurt you, Miss Porter." She hesitated. "Not physically, but he took liberties," she whispered, shame burning her cheeks. Colton's jaw clenched. "I'm sorry you had to go through that. No woman should ever, especially not for her first." He stopped, realizing what he'd let slip. "How'd you know?" she asked, eyes wide. "By the way you looked," he said gently, "like somebody stole something precious." The stagecoach lurched forward, cutting the moment short as Colton rode ahead to lead the way. Willa watched his straight back and broad shoulders against the red desert sky. An hour later, just like he promised, Silver Creek appeared, a dusty main street, wooden storefronts, a little church steeple, scattered houses like seeds on the dry earth. After such a hard day, Silver Creek looked like a safe harbor. When the stage rolled to a stop in front of the hotel, the whole town seemed to gather. Abraham stepped down first, helped Laura, then Willa. A big man with a grand mustache strode up, hand outstretched. "Silas Hawkins, mayor of Silver Creek, been expectin' you folks. Hope the trip wasn't too rough. Before Abraham could answer, Colton spoke up. They got held up by Jeb Reeves about an hour out. I happened by and settled it. The mayor's face darkened. The Reeves gang been raising hell all over the territory. Hope you gave him what he deserved. He won't bother nobody else, Colton said calmly. Mayor Hawkins nodded, satisfied, then turned back to the porters. Well, you're safe now. Your new house is ready, small but sturdy, just a stone's throw from the schoolhouse. While Silas kept talking with Abraham and Laura about the last details, Willa felt Colton's eyes on her again. When she dared to meet them, he wasn't looking at her with pity. She'd feared that, but with quiet respect. Miss Porter, Colton said, stepping close when the others were busy. I want you to know not everybody out here is like that outlaw. Most folks in Silver Creek are good people. Thank you, Deputy, Willa said, meaning every word. For savin' us and for makin' me feel better. Colton shook his head. Just doin' my job. Then he paused, choosing his words. I hope what happened today doesn't sour you on the West. I'm tryin' not to judge a whole land by one bad man, she said, though she still trembled inside. Colton's warm smile returned. Glad to hear it. Well, welcome to Silver Creek, Miss Porter. In a town this small, reckon we'll be seein' more of each other. He touched his hat brim and walked off. Willa nodded, secretly hoping he was right. The Porter family settled fast. Their new house was modest compared to Boston, 4 rooms, simple furniture, but clean and solid. Right next door stood the little one-room schoolhouse Abraham would run, wooden benches, a worn blackboard. The mayor hadn't exaggerated. Once the ranches and farms heard the teacher had arrived, school would start in a week. In the meantime, the Porters unpacked and got to know the townsfolk. Silver Creek was small, about 400 souls, but hungry to grow. There was a general store, a bank, a hotel, 2 saloons, one respectable, one rowdy Doc Mercer's office, and plenty more along Main Street. The town had a marshal, Marshal Briggs, an older man who spent most days dozing in a chair outside the jail, and 2 deputies. One of them was Colton Wilcox. Willa crossed paths with Colton plenty in those first days, though they barely spoke. He'd tip his hat when she passed or nod if they met in the store. Still, every little moment left a flutter in her chest she tried to ignore. On the 4th day, Willa was walking home with a heavy basket of supplies when she heard a horse trot up behind her. She stepped aside, expecting the rider to pass, but the horse slowed. Miss Porter, Colton greeted, touching his hat brim. Let me carry that for you. Before she could protest, he dismounted and taken the basket. It's no trouble, he insisted, walking beside her and leading his horse by the reins. And please call me Colt. Deputy sounds too formal when I'm off duty. All right, Colt, she said, feeling the name like a secret on her tongue. Then you've got to call me Willa. Willa, he repeated, smiling. Pretty name suits you. Heat rushed to her cheeks. Thank you. How long you been in Silver Creek? Common on 3 years, he said. Came out from Missouri after the war. Pa fought for the Union, didn't come home. Ma passed not long after. Nothing much keepin' me back there. I'm real sorry, Willa murmured. Colton shrugged, but sadness flickered in his eyes. Long time ago now. What about you? Leavin' Boston couldn't have been easy. It wasn't as hard as I expected, she admitted. Didn't have many friends left. When Ma got sick last year, we couldn't keep up the old life. Pa had been written to Mayor Hawkins about the teachin' job for months. When Ma got strong enough, we decided to start fresh. When they reached the house, Colt set the basket on the porch. An awkward pause hung between them, like neither wanted to say goodbye. Willa, he said at last, voice softer, I was wonderin', would you let me take you to the monthly social this Saturday, held in the church hall, music, food, dancin'? Her heart jumped. I'd love to. His whole face lit up. Really? That's great news. I'll come by at 6 if that's all right. 6 is perfect, she said. unable to hide her smile. Colton tipped his hat again, mounted up, and rode off. Willa watched him go, a whirlwind of excitement and nerves spinning inside her. She'd never been courted before. Her mother's long illness had eaten up the last 2 years. And then there was that stolen kiss on the stagecoach, a memory that still made her skin crawl. She touched her lips without thinking, wondering if she'd ever be able to think of a kiss without that shadow of fear. The days before the social flew by. She helped Abraham plan lessons and Laura turn the house into a real home. When Saturday came, she was torn between thrilled and terrified. She chose her prettiest dress, soft blue cotton, simple lace at the collar. Not as fancy as Boston gowns, but practical for frontier life. Laura helped pin up her chestnut hair, leaving a few curls around her face. "You look beautiful, honey," Laura said, eyes shining with pride. "Colton Wilcox seems like a good man." "He is, Ma," Willa said, smoothing her skirt with shaky hands. "He's been real kind." "Just guard your heart, sweetheart," Laura said gently. "The West makes men different, stronger, but sometimes rougher around the edges." Before Willa could answer, a soft knock sounded at the door. Abraham opened it, and seconds later Colton Wilcox stood in the parlor, clean trousers, pressed shirt, silver star shining on his vest, dark hair combed neat, hat in his hands. "Miss Porter," he said, eyes widening just a little, "you look beautiful." Heat flooded her face. "Thank you, you clean up real nice yourself." After promising her parents they'd be home by 10, Colton offered his arm. They stepped out into the warm evening breeze. "Fair warning," he said as they walked. "You'll probably be the center of attention tonight. We don't get many new folks, especially pretty ladies from back east." "I'm not big on being the center of anything," Willa admitted. Colton chuckled. "Already figured that out. You'd rather watch from the shadows than stand in the spotlight." She looked at him surprised. "You're awfully observant." "Part of being a good lawman," he said with a wink. "And I've been doing a lot of observing where you're concerned, Miss Willa Porter." The church hall was packed when they arrived, lanterns hanging from the rafters, warm light washing over the townsfolk. A small band played in the corner, long tables groaned with food and punch. Kids darted between grown-ups while folks visited. Just like Colton predicted, Willa's arrival turned heads. Ladies hurried over to welcome her. Colton stayed right by her side, introducing her, guiding her through the crowd with a light hand on her back. When they finally caught a breath, he handed her a cup of punch. "Not as fancy as Boston balls, I reckon." "Maybe not," Willa said, looking around the simple room. "But there's a kindness here I never felt back east." Colton's eyes softened. "You keep surprising me, Willa. Most Eastern ladies can't wait to get back to civilization, as they call it." "I'm not most ladies," she said with a quiet smile. "What's civilization if it ain't folks looking out for each other? I've seen more of that here in a week than in years back home." The band struck up a lively tune. Couples flooded the floor. Colton set down his cup and offered his hand. "May I have this dance?" Willa placed her hand in his. "Yes, you may." He led her out, one hand respectful on her waist, the other holding hers firm. He danced better than she expected, smooth, confident. "Where'd a Missouri deputy learn to dance like this?" she teased as they spun. Colton laughed. "Ma insisted, said a man who could dance would never be lonely. Thought it was nonsense at the time. Now I thank her every day." They danced 3 songs before resting. Colton fetched plates of food, and they found a quieter corner. Talking with him felt easy. He was smart, funny in a dry way that made her laugh more than she had in years. The night flew too fast. At 9:45, Colton reluctantly suggested they head home. They walked slow, neither eager for the evening to end. "Tonight was wonderful," Willa said as they neared her house. "Thank you for asking me." "My pleasure," Colton said, that calm steadiness in his voice. Maybe we could do it again sometime." "I'd like that," she said, pulse racing. On the porch, Colton stopped one step below her, still holding her hand. Moonlight silvered his eyes with an intensity that stole her breath. "Willa," he said low, "we ain't known each other long, but I feel something with you I can't explain." "Me too," she confessed, bold for once. Colton stepped closer, keeping a respectful distance. "That day on the stagecoach, what that outlaw did, I've wanted to talk about it but didn't know how." Her body tensed at the memory. "It's not something I like thinking about." "I understand," he said quickly. "But I want you to know, a real kiss ain't taken by fear or force. It's given, shared between two people who care." Willa's heart pounded so loud she was sure he heard it. "I wouldn't know. That was my first, my only." Colton's face softened with deep understanding. "Your first kiss was born in fear," he murmured. "If you'll let me, Willa, I'd like to show you what a real kiss feels like." Time stopped. She thought of the terror with Jeb Reeves, then of the safety she always felt with Colton. Slowly, she nodded. Colton stepped up level with her. Gently he cupped her cheek, thumb brushing her skin. His eyes asked one last time. Willa tilted her head yes. When their lips met, it felt like the night sky fell into her chest, sparking light everywhere. The kiss was soft, sure, warm, respectful. It lasted only a moment, but when he pulled back, something inside her had changed forever. "That," Colton whispered, forehead against hers, "is what a kiss is supposed to be." "I think," she said breathlessly, "I might need another lesson to be sure." His smile lit the dark before he kissed her again, slow, full of promise. The weeks after were the happiest of Willa's young life. Colton visited often, walks by the creek, church on Sundays, sometimes supper with the Porters. Abraham started school. The ranchers and farmers respected him as much as the kids did. Laura's health improved daily in the dry air, and she joined the ladies' literary circle. Willa found purpose helping Doc Mercer once a week. Laura had taught her nursing basics during her illness, and that skill was gold in a town short on medical help. One warm September afternoon, Willa was restocking supplies when the door burst open. Colton rushed in carrying a boy whose side was soaked with blood. "Horse accident," he said urgently, laying the boy on the table. "Nate Carter got thrown, landed on a broken fence post. Doc around." "At the Morrison Ranch," Willa said, already grabbing bandages and antiseptic. "Kid's got fever. He won't be back till night." Colton's face tightened. "He can't wait." Willa examined the deep, bleeding gash. No vital organs hit. "I can help," she said with more certainty than she felt. "Ma taught me how to clean and stitch wounds." The boy, barely more than a child, looked terrified. "You sure, miss? I don't want to die." "You're not dying, Nate," Willa said firmly, rolling up her sleeves. "But it's gonna hurt. Colt, whiskey in that cabinet. Give him a good swig." Colton obeyed, encouraging Nate while Willa worked. She cleaned the wound, poured antiseptic, and stitched the torn flesh with steady hands. Nate gritted his teeth, whimpered, but held still. "You're doing great, Nate," she murmured. "Just a couple more." When she finished, she bandaged him snug and explained how to keep it clean. Colton helped the boy sit up and promised to get him home. "I'll be back soon," he told Willa, eyes full of pride. He kept his word. An hour later he found her cleaning up. "What you did was amazing," he said. "Not many women could handle that, let alone do it so well." Willa shrugged, though the praise warmed her. Ma believed a woman should know how to do everything, including stitching up her men. Colton stepped closer. "You keep surprising me, Willa Porter. Every time I think I've got you figured out, you show me something new." "And that's good?" she asked, setting down the rag. "The best," he said, taking her hands. "I've never met anyone like you, brave, kind." His voice cracked. Instead of words, he drew her in and kissed her deep, saying everything words couldn't. Willa kissed him back, arms around his neck, his good arm tight around her waist. When they broke apart, breathless, Colton rested his forehead against hers. "I'm fallen in love with you, Willa. Think I started the day I saw you on that stagecoach." Her heart soared. "I love you too, Colt, more than I thought possible in so short a time." That confession changed everything. They stayed proper, always chaperoned or in public, but every look and touch carried deeper weight. October brought cooler nights and talk of winter. The town geared up for the Harvest Festival, a weekend of food, music, and community that drew families from miles around. Willa was helping decorate the church hall when Marshal Briggs burst in, face grim. "Ada Hawkins," he called to the mayor's wife, "you seen Colt out at the Peterson Ranch water rights dispute. What's wrong?" Briggs glanced at Willa before answering. "Just got word 2 Reeves boys are ridden this way, likely looking to settle the score for their kin Colt killed back in August." Ice shot through Willa's veins. She tried to bury that day, but the ghost of rough hands and a forced kiss still haunted her. "Should we be worried?" Ada whispered. "Just talkin' precautions," Briggs said. "Sent word to Colt. Best folks stay inside till we're sure." The women cleared out fast. Willa waited till Briggs was alone, then approached. "Marshal Briggs," she said, voice steady despite her pounding heart. "They're common because of what happened to me, aren't they?" His face softened. "Ain't your fault, Miss Porter. Jeb Reeves chose to rob that stage and lay hands on you. Colt did his duty." "But now Colt's in danger because of it," she insisted. "Colt can handle himself," Briggs said. "He's come through worse." His words didn't calm her. At home, her parents already knew. Abraham heard it at the store. "They say these Reeves boys are worse than the one who attacked you," Abraham said gravely. "Killers, not just robbers." "You're scaring her, Abraham," Laura scolded. "I'm already scared, Ma," Willa admitted. "Not for me, for Colt." Laura sighed tenderly. "You really love him." "I do," Willa said without hesitation. "And I couldn't bear it if something happened because of me." "It wouldn't be because of you," Abraham said. "It'd be because he did right." Willa nodded, but the weight in her chest stayed. The rest of the day she jumped at every sound, praying to see Colt ride up safe. Hours dragged. As the sun dipped low, she spotted 2 riders coming slow from the east. Even in fading light, she knew neither was Colt. Rough men, dangerous. Her father's face hardened at the window. "Gotta be the Reeves boys. I'll tell the marshal." "No," Willa said instantly. "They'll see you. I'll go out back through the alley." Before they could stop her, she slipped out the back door and across the little garden. Shadows stretched long as the sun sank, giving her cover toward the marshal's office. She was halfway there when a hand clamped over her mouth, yanking her between buildings. Panic froze her until she heard the familiar voice. "It's me, Willa, easy." Colton released her slow, finger to his lips, rifle in hand, eyes scanning. "What you doing out here?" he whispered harshly. "The Reeves boys just rode in," she breathed. "I saw them from the window. I was common to warn the marshal." Colton's jaw tightened. "They're headin' for the saloon looking for me. Stay here. Whatever happens, don't come out." "Colt, please," she begged, grabbing his arm. "They'll kill you." "They'll try," he said with calm steel, "but I ain't mackin' it easy." He brushed her cheek with surprising tenderness. "I love you, Willa Porter, don't forget." Before she could answer, he melted into the shadows, silent, lethal. Willa pressed against the wall, heart hammering so loud she feared it'd give her away. From her sliver of view, she saw the Reeves brothers in front of the saloon, guns drawn, yelling for the deputy who killed their brother. Marshal Briggs stepped out, hands up. "Boys, no need for trouble. State your business." "Our business is with Wilcox," the taller one snarled. "He killed our brother Jeb." "Your brother robbed a stage and assaulted a young lady," Briggs said calmly. "Deputy Wilcox did his duty." "Don't care what he did," the second spat. "Family's family, he's gonna pay." "Oh yeah," Colton's voice rang out from the general store porch. Then come deal with me direct, instead of scarin' innocent folks." Both Reeves spun, guns up. Willa bit back a scream as the street exploded in gunfire. Colton dove sideways as bullets splintered wood where he'd stood. Briggs drew and fired, hitting the taller Reeves in the shoulder. The man staggered but fired back wildly. Townsfolk scrambled for cover. Willa shrank smaller, torn between hiding and helping. When the smoke cleared, one Reeves lay dead in the street. The other knelt, clutching a bleeding side, gun yards away. Colton stepped out from behind the horse trough, revolver steady. Briggs kicked the dropped gun further away. "It's over, Reeves," Colton said. "Your brother's dead, you're under arrest." The wounded man glared pure hate. "This ain't over, Wilcox. Our cousins'll come for you, and that girl too." Colton's face turned stone. "You say her name again, jail'll be the least of your worries." With Briggs, he hauled the prisoner to the jail. As they passed Willa's hiding spot, she saw blood on Colton's left sleeve. She couldn't stay put, she ran out. "You're hurt." Colton looked shocked, then annoyed. "I told you to stay hidden." "And let you get shot," she shot back, grabbing his arm. "Never." Briggs cleared his throat. "I'll take this trash. Get that arm looked at before you bleed all over town." Colton sighed, handed over his rifle, then let Willa lead him to Doc Mercer. Inside, she lit lamps and prepped supplies. Colton shrugged off his vest and shirt, revealing a deep furrow where the bullet had torn flesh. "Just a scratch," he muttered. Willa raised an eyebrow. "Men always say that." She cleaned the wound, making him hiss when antiseptic hit. "Hold still, this'll burn." He didn't flinch as she stitched with the same calm precision. "You're gettin' awful good at this." "Skill I'd rather not need on you again," she sighed. "You scared me half to death today, Colt." He looked down, almost shy. "I'm sorry, but I couldn't let them threaten the town or you." "I know duty," she said softly, tying the bandage. "But I can't lose you, not now that I've found you." His good hand cupped her cheek. "You won't lose me, Willa Porter, I promise." "Don't promise what a lawman can't keep," she whispered. "Life in your job ain't ever simple." Colton studied her face like he was memorizing it. "That's exactly what I've been thinking, my job and us." Her heart leapt. "What are you sayin'?" He continued, "I like wearin' the badge. Gives me purpose protectin' folks. But today when that bullet grazed me, all I could think was you, the future we could have if I live long enough." "Colt," she started. He pressed a finger to her lips. "Let me finish. Briggs is retirin' come spring. Last week Silas Hawkins asked if I'd take the marshal job." "That's wonderful," Willa beamed. "You'd be the best marshal this town ever saw." "I told him I'd think on it," Colton said. "Marshal means more responsibility, sure, but less ridden alone across the territory. More time in town, regular hours." His eyes locked on hers. "More time for a family someday." Willa's breath caught. "Colt, what are you askin'?" He reached into his pocket with his good arm and pulled out a small gold ring with a tiny pearl. "Been carryin' this 2 weeks," he confessed, voice thick. "Waitin' for the right moment. Figured I'd do it somewhere romantic, not a doctor's office smellin' of blood and antiseptic. But after today, I ain't waitin'." He slid off the table, knelt despite the pain, and took her hand. "Willa Porter," he said, soul in his voice, "I love you more than I ever thought I could love anybody. You're brave, you're kind, you're everything I didn't know I needed. Will you do me the honor of becomin' my wife?" Time stopped. She looked at the man who'd saved her in every way a person can be saved. The man who taught her what a real kiss was, what it felt like to be cherished. "Yes," she whispered, then louder. "Yes, Colton Wilcox, I'll marry you." His smile lit the room as he slipped the ring on her finger. He stood, pulled her close, and kissed her with tenderness that promised forever. News of the engagement spread like wildfire. The Porters worried at first about how fast it happened, but seeing their love, they gave their blessing. Mayor Hawkins was thrilled, said a married marshal would steady the town. They set the wedding for the first Saturday in November, before winter closed the roads. The whole town pitched in. Ladies sewed her dress. Ranchers donated beef for the feast. Everyone brought flowers and tablecloths. Willa marveled at how far she'd come, from terror on a stagecoach to true love with an honorable man. The wedding day dawned cold, clear, bright. The little church overflowed with folks in their Sunday best. In the back room, Laura adjusted Willa's ivory satin dress with lace collar and cuffs. "You're radiant, honey. Your pa and I are so proud." "Thank you, Ma," Willa said, smoothing her skirt with trembling hands. "I still can't believe this is real." "Any doubts?" Laura asked softly. "About Colt?" "Never," Willa said. "Just everything happened so fast. 3 months ago I didn't even know him." Laura smiled. "Some loves grow slow, brick by brick. Others hit like lightning. Both are real." A soft knock. Abraham stepped in, handsome in his best suit. "It's time." He offered his arm. "Your groom's waitin', and I'd say he's near as nervous as you." Willa took a deep breath and let her father lead her out. When the doors opened and the congregation stood, Willa's eyes found Colton at the altar, black suit, dark hair neat, clean-shaven. But it was the look on his face, pure love, that melted every nerve. The ceremony was simple but powerful. Colton's vows rang strong. Willa's trembled only slightly as she promised to love and honor him all her days. When the preacher said husband and wife, Colton's kiss was gentle yet hungry, earning whoops and cheers. The reception was joyful, music, laughter, dancing till late. Willa and Colton barely left each other's sides, accepting congratulations from every corner of the county. When the party wound down, Colton took his wife's hand and led her into the cool night. "Mrs. Wilcox," he said, tasting the name like honey, "are you happy?" Willa looked up at her husband, heart too full for her chest. "Happier than I ever dreamed. And you?" "More than I can say," he said, pulling her close. "That day I stopped the stagecoach robbery. Never imagined I was ridden toward my future, that the scared girl inside would become my wife, my partner, my whole life." "It's amazing, isn't it?" she murmured. "That something so beautiful came from something so awful." Colton nodded, serious. "Your first kiss was taken in fear. From now on, every kiss is given in love." He proved it with a kiss full of devotion that promised a lifetime. Their new home was a modest 2-story house on the edge of town, former home of the Walkers, an older couple who moved back east. Colton had spent weeks fixing it up, wanting everything perfect for her. That first night as husband and wife crossing the threshold, Willa felt a flutter of fear. She loved him, yes, but the intimacy of marriage was brand new, a little scary despite Laura's practical talk. Colton sensed it instantly. "We've got all the time in the world," he whispered, kissing her forehead. "Nothing happens till you're ready." His respect only made her love him more. As the night unfolded, his patience and tenderness turned fear into wonder, worry into warm joy. Winter passed like a dream. In February, Colton officially became Marshal Wilcox. Willa kept helping Doc Mercer weekly and started giving music lessons to the town kids. Only one shadow lingered, the wounded Reeves brother's threat. Though sentenced to 15 years in Yuma prison, his words about family revenge sometimes crept into Willa's dreams. Colton always calmed her. Outlaws talk big, rarely follow through. Still, he stayed watchful. Spring burst with wildflowers. Silver Creek grew, new families drawn by fertile land and safety under Marshal Wilcox. In April, Willa discovered the happiest news she was expecting. When she told Colton, he whooped, spun her around the kitchen, then stopped, worried. "A baby," he whispered, hand on her still flat belly. "Our baby, can you believe it?" "Still getting used to it," she laughed. "Due in November, Doc says." Joy spread fast. Her parents were over the moon. Abraham planned reading lessons. Laura started knitting tiny clothes. Summer came, Willa's belly rounding. Colton grew even more protective, escorted her everywhere, checked on her twice a day. "You're fussing too much," she teased one July evening on the porch. "I'm pregnant, not glass." He chuckled sheepish, squeezing her hand. "I know, just, you and our baby are my whole world." Then quieter. "Got a telegram from the Yuma Marshal today. Clint Reeves escaped during a prisoner transfer." Willa's blood froze. "The one who threatened us." "That's him," Colton said grimly. "Could be headed anywhere. I've got everyone keeping eyes open." His calm didn't ease the dread that settled over her like a heavy blanket. That night, hand on her belly, she silently swore nothing would touch their child. Summer passed quiet. Word put Clint Reeves in Texas chasing new trouble. Slowly fear dulled. Autumn brought cool winds and the harvest festival. Willa, 7 months along, watched more than danced. Colton won the shooting contest easy, earning proud cheers. "Show off," she teased when he handed her the prize. A fine leather notebook. "Just for you," he grinned, helping her stand. "Let's get you home, you look tired." Walking slow through town, waving to neighbors, the sun sank, stretching long shadows. Then Willa saw him, a stranger watching from the store porch. Something in his stance chilled her. "Colt," she whispered, nudging him, "you know him." Colton tensed instantly. "Can't say for sure, stay here." Before she could argue, he strode toward the man, hand near his holster. The stranger straightened, face twisting with hate. It happened lightning fast. The man drew with trained speed. Colton was faster, gun out, shouting a warning. Shots boomed, echoing off buildings. Willa watched in horror as both men staggered. Colton hit in the shoulder, the stranger taking Colton's bullet square in the chest. The stranger dropped dead. Colton sank to one knee, clutching his shoulder. Willa ran, ignoring the stab in her lower back. "Colt." "I'm okay," he grunted as men rushed to help. "Just grazed." Doc Mercer pushed through, examined quick. "To my office now." As they moved off, Willa glanced back. Mayor Hawkins knelt by the body. "Dead," he announced. "Anybody recognize him?" "I do," said Hank from the livery. "Rented a horse in Jerome. Said his name was Reeves, Anderson Reeves." Willa's knees buckled. Colton's good arm tightened around her. "A cousin," he muttered bitterly. "One of them cousins Clint said would come." The threat had been real, and found them. In Doc's office, the bullet came out clean. Painful but not deadly. 2 weeks rest, Doc ordered. Colton grumbled, but gave in under Willa's pleading eyes. Back home, exhausted, Willa helped him out of his bloody shirt and into bed, hands shaking. "Hey," he murmured, catching her wrist gently. "It's over, Willa, he can't hurt us." "And if more come," she whispered, voice breaking. "More cousins, more revenge." Colton pulled her to sit beside him. "Maybe, but we can't live looking over our shoulders every day. That ain't living, especially not for our baby." He laid his hand on her belly. The baby kicked hard against his palm. "See," Colton smiled. "Even our little one agrees." Willa smiled through tears. "So what do we do?" "We live," Colton said with rock-solid calm. "We love each other, real fierce love, and we love this baby. We build our life here in Silver Creek. We stay watchful, but we don't let fear run us." His steady words loosened the knot in her chest. She leaned in, kissed him soft, careful of his shoulder. "When you get so wise, Marshal Wilcox." "About the time I fell for a schoolteacher's daughter from Boston," he said, pulling her close for another slow kiss. The next 2 weeks crawled for Colton. He hated sitting still. Willa still glanced at the street every time she stepped out, half expecting another gunman. None came. Life settled back into rhythm. Colton returned to duty lighter, delegating more to stay close as the baby's time neared. November brought the first snow, blanketing Silver Creek in quiet white. Doc Mercer said any day now. The nursery was ready, tiny room next to theirs, handmade crib, soft blankets. On the night of November 22, while Colton stoked the fire, a sharp pain ripped through Willa's belly. She gasped, gripping the chair. Colton was there in a heartbeat. "It's time." She nodded, unable to speak as another contraction hit fast. His face went pale, but he moved like clockwork. Got her to bed, sent Sammy Tate for Doc and Laura, boiled water just like they'd practiced. Labor was long and brutal, through the night and into morning. Willa fought wave after wave of pain, clinging to Colton's steady presence. He never left her side, wiped her brow, held her hand, whispered encouragement. "You can do this, Willa," he said during the worst contraction. "You're the strongest person I know. Our baby needs you just a little longer." His voice anchored her. With one final push, their son came into the world, strong cry filling the room. "A boy," Doc announced, laying the baby on Willa's chest, strong and healthy. Tears streamed down her face as she looked at him. Perfect tiny fingers, dark hair, and when his eyes flickered open, storm gray like his daddy. Colton's hand trembled, touching his son's cheek. "He's incredible," he whispered, voice breaking. "You're incredible, Willa." They named him Edward Kane Wilcox, after Abraham and Colton's middle name. Everyone quickly called him Eddie. Winter blurred with sleepless nights and new parent wonder. Colton was a natural dad, tender as he was tough, cradling Eddie for hours, telling him about the West, promising to teach him to ride and rope. Spring brought final news. Clint Reeves died in a botched bank robbery in Texas. The shadow over them lifted for good. Willa felt lightness she hadn't known in years. Silver Creek boomed. By 1885, the railroad came, bringing growth. Colton was unanimously re-elected Marshal, his fair, brave reputation the town's pride. Willa kept assisting Doc Mercer till he officially made her his nurse. Her hard labor sparked a calling. She began training as a midwife. In 1887, they welcomed daughter Rosie Wilcox, blonde like her mama, stubborn as her pa. Big brother Eddie, age 3, declared himself her protector and meant it. Years brought challenges, ranch disputes, rowdy drunks passing outlaws, but nothing like before. Spring of 1893, 10 years after arriving in Silver Creek, Willa sat on the porch of their now expanded house, watching Colton teach 9-year-old Eddie to rope a post. 6-year-old Rosie sat nearby making flower crowns, while 3-year-old Tommy tried to copy his brother with a piece of string. The sight filled her heart with quiet warmth. This was the life she never dared dream, and it had found her. Colton glanced up, caught her eye. Even after a decade, her husband's smile still gave her butterflies. He said something to Eddie, then crossed the yard in 2 strides and swept her into his arms. "What's got you looking so serious?" he asked, nuzzling her neck. "Just thinking how it all started," she said, melting into him. "The stagecoach, the outlaw, the fear." He tightened his hold. "Not exactly a fairy tale beginning." "But look how it ended," Willa said, gesturing to their children, their home, their life. "My first kiss was stolen in fear. Everyone since has been given in love. And we've got thousands more common," Colton promised, tipping her chin for a kiss that still made her knees weak after 3 kids and 10 years. The sun painted the sky gold and pink over Silver Creek. Wrapped in Colton Wilcox's arms, surrounded by the family they'd built, Willa Wilcox knew some trails start in terror, but if you keep ridden, they lead exactly where you're meant to be. The years slipped by like pages in a well-worn Bible, each one marked with joy, sorrow, growth, and the steady heartbeat of a family rooted deep in the red dirt of Arizona. By the spring of 1895, Silver Creek had doubled in size. The railroad depot at the edge of town whistled every morning at 6 sharp, bringing new faces, new money, and new troubles. Marshal Colton Wilcox now had 3 deputies instead of 1, a proper brick jailhouse instead of the old log one, and a reputation that stretched clear to Tucson and Prescott. Folks said, If you wanted justice done fair and fast, you rode to Silver Creek and asked for Marshal Wilcox. Willa, at 29, had become the town's unofficial doctor for women and bobbies. Doc Mercer, gray and creaking, had turned over most births to her years ago. Mothers from ranches 30 miles out sent riders in the dead of night when labor came early. Willa never turned anyone away. She kept a lamp burning in the window of the little clinic Colt built onto the side of their house, right next to the picket fence Rosie had painted bright yellow. Eddie was 11 now, tall for his age, quiet like his father with storm-gray eyes that missed nothing. He could rope a calf, shoot the head off a rattlesnake at 20 paces, and still recited the Psalms his granddad Abraham taught him every Sunday. Rosie, 8 going on 18, had her mother's chestnut curls and a tongue sharp enough to slice bread. Tommy, 6, was all freckles and mischief, forever trailing after his big brother like a loyal hound. And then there was little Grace, born in the blizzard of '94, who had Laura's gentle smile and a laugh that made even the crankiest old rancher grin. One warm May evening in 1895, the whole family sat on the wide front porch after supper. Colt leaned back in the rocking chair he'd made the winter Eddie was born, boots propped on the rail, hat tipped low. Willa shelled peas into a tin bowl while Grace played with a rag doll at her feet. Eddie and Tommy were trying to teach the dog, Buster, to fetch sticks without chewing them to splinters. Rosie sat on the top step braiding dandelions into a crown. "Ma," Eddie called, wiping sweat off his forehead, "can we ride out to the north pasture tomorrow? Mr. Jenkins said his new bull got loose again. Said if we find him, we can keep the $10 reward." Colt's rocking stopped. "You know the rules, son. Nobody rides that far without a grown-up." Eddie's shoulders sagged. "I'm almost 12, Pa." "Almost don't count when there's a half-wild Brahmin bull on the loose," Colt said, voice calm but final. Willa hid a smile. Same argument every week. Eddie wanted to be a man. Colt remembered too well what trouble boys got into trying to prove it. Rosie piped up. "If Eddie gets to go, I'm going too. I'm lighter. He can put me up on the saddle in front of him and I'll spot the bull from higher." Tommy bounced, "Me 3. Grace clapped sticky hands, "Me 4. Colt groaned, "Lord help me, I'm outnumbered." Willa laughed, the sound bright as bells. "Tell you what, Saturday we'll all ride out, picnic, lunch, fishing poles, the whole family. If that bull's still loose, your Pa and Eddie can track him. The rest of us will cheer from a safe distance." The children whooped. Even Buster barked like he understood. Later, after the little ones were tucked in and the lamp turned low, Colt pulled Willa into their bedroom and shut the door. "You know," he murmured, unbuttoning her dress with the same slow care he'd shown their wedding night, "I used to think the best part of my day was ridden back to town knowing justice got done. Now I know the best part is walking through that front door and hearing 4 little voices yell Pa, and one sweet voice calling me darlin'." Willa slid her arms around his neck. "And I used to think the West stole everything good from a woman, soft hands, pretty dresses, safety. Turns out it gave me everything worth having." They made love slow and quiet, the way parents learn to when there are small ears down the hall. Afterward, Colt traced the faint silver lines on her belly, marks from carrying 4 bobbies, and kissed each one like they were medals. Summer 1895 brought drought. Creeks shrank to cracked mud, cattle ribs showed and tempers frayed. Then, in late July, a telegram came that turned the whole town on its head. Colt read it twice in the marshal's office, face going hard as winter iron. Clint Reeves, last living cousin, Zeb Reeves, had broken out of the territorial prison in Texas. Word was he'd sworn on his mother's grave to finish what the family started, kill Marshal Wilcox and that Boston woman who caused it all. Willa was hanging laundry when Colt rode up fast, dust swirling behind him. The look on his face made her drop the wet sheet. "He's common," Colt said simply. "Zeb Reeves escaped last week, headed west." All the old fear rushed back like floodwater. Willa's knees buckled. Colt caught her before she hit the ground. "Hey now," he whispered, holding her tight. "Look at me, darlin'. He ain't getting anywhere near you or these bobbies, I swear on my life." That night the town council met in the church. Every man who could shoot showed up. Colt laid it out plain: no vigilantes, no lynch mobs. They'd do this legal. But every road into Silver Creek would be watched, every stranger questioned. And Willa and the children would stay inside the jailhouse if needed, solid brick walls, iron bars, Colt sleeping on a cot beside them. For 2 weeks the town held its breath. Children walked to school in groups. Women carried rifles to the clothesline. Ranchers rode in pairs. Then on a moonless night in August, it came. Willa woke to Buster growling low. Colt was already out of bed, pulling on trousers, revolver in hand. "Stay here," he whispered. "Lock the door behind me." She heard boots on the porch, the creak of the gate, then Colt's voice sharp as a whip. "Hands where I can see, Reeves." 3 shots cracked the night like breaking bones. Willa grabbed Colt's spare rifle from above the door, heart hammering so hard she could barely breathe. She cracked the bedroom door just enough to see. Colt stood in the yard, shirtless, gun smoking. A man lay sprawled in the dirt, long black coat, hat 10 feet away, blood pooling dark under him. Zeb Reeves, dead before he cleared leather. Colt turned, eyes finding hers in the doorway. He was shaking, not from fear, but from the effort of holding back lethal fury. "It's over," he said hoarsely, "for good this time." Willa dropped the rifle and ran to him. They sank to their knees right there in the dirt, holding each other while the children cried inside and neighbors poured from houses with lanterns and shotguns. By morning, the whole territory knew. The Reeves curse was buried for good in Silver Creek's Boot Hill. Life didn't just go back to normal after that. It got better. With the shadow gone, Silver Creek boomed. A new schoolhouse, 2 rooms now. A proper hospital with 3 beds and a real nurses' station run by Willa. The railroad added a second daily train. Colt hired another deputy, a young man named Billy Travis who'd grown up watching Eddie rope calves. In 1898, when Eddie turned 14, Colt gave him his first real badge, junior deputy. The boy wore it like it was made of solid gold. Rosie declared she'd be the first lady marshal in Arizona and practiced quick-draw with a stick and fierce determination. Tommy wanted to be a train engineer. Grace just wanted a pony and got one for her 5th birthday, a paint mare named Daisy. That same year, Willa found out she was expecting again. Number 5. Colt laughed till he cried, then carried her around the house like she was made of spun sugar. The baby came early, on a stormy October night in 1898, a tiny girl with a shock of red hair nobody could explain. They named her Lily Mee, after Colt's long-gone mother. By 1900, Silver Creek had electric lights on Main Street, a telephone exchange, and a brass band that played every 4th of July. Marshal Wilcox was 40 years old, still straight-backed and deadly with a gun, but softer around the edges. Laugh lines from kissing bobbies and wrangling grandbabies. Laura and Abraham had spoiled them rotten. Willa turned 34 that spring. Her hands were no longer soft, but they'd brought over 200 bobbies into the world. Her hair had a few silver threads Colt loved to kiss. She still fit perfectly in the circle of his arms. One Sunday in May 1900, the whole family dressed in their best and walked to church together, Colt in his black suit, Willa in the blue dress she'd worn to her first social 17 years ago, taken in and let out so many times it was more memory than cloth. Eddie, 15, carried the hymnals. Rosie, 13, held Grace's hand. Tommy, 11, tried to keep Lily from eating dandelions. After services, the congregation gathered for the annual picnic on the church lawn. Tables groaned under fried chicken, apple pies, and lemonade by the gallon. Old Mayor Hawkins, retired now, white-haired and proud, stood on a crate and cleared his throat. "Folks," he boomed, 17 years ago a stagecoach rolled in carrion, a frightened girl from Boston and her family. That same day our marshal shot down a desperado and saved 'em all. Who'd have thought that scared little thing would grow up to deliver half the bobbies in this county, and steal the marshal's heart in the bargain? Laughter rippled, Colt's ears went red. Willa hid her face in her hands, laughing. So today, Silas went on, we're fixin' to honor Marshal Colton Wilcox and Mrs. Willa Wilcox for 20 years of keepin' this town safe, healthy, and full of love. He unveiled a bronze plaque on the new courthouse steps. To Marshal Colton Wilcox and Willa Wilcox. For courage in the face of danger, compassion in the face of need, and a love that built a town. Silver Creek, Arizona Territory, 1900. The band struck up Sweet Betsy from Pike. Children cheered. Colt swept Willa into a waltz right there on the courthouse lawn, spinning her till her skirts flew and Lily squealed from Eddie's shoulders. Later, when the sun dipped low and fireflies winked above the grass, Colt pulled Willa behind the church where honeysuckle grew thick and sweet. "Remember this spot?" he asked, voice low. She smiled. "Where you kissed me after the social that first night, when I thought my heart would burst." "Still does," he said, cupping her face, "every time I look at you." He kissed her slow and deep, 17 years of memories in every touch. When they pulled apart, foreheads resting together, Willa whispered, "Think we're too old for porch swings and stolen kisses." "Never," Colt growled. "I plan on kissin' you on this very spot when we're 80 if the good Lord lets us." She laughed softly. "Deal, but only if you promise to keep catchin' me when I fall." "Always, darlin', always." Behind them, their children's laughter rang out. Eddie teaching Tommy to two-step, Rosie swinging Grace till they both collapsed dizzy and giggling, Lily toddling after fireflies with Buster at her heels. Willa looked at the life they'd built from terror and dust and whispered a prayer of thanks. Back in 1883, a desperate outlaw had stolen her first kiss and tried to steal her future. Instead, a quiet deputy with storm-gray eyes had given her 1,000 kisses that built a legacy. 5 children. Countless lives saved. One town transformed. And a love that outlasted every bullet, every threat, every storm the West could throw. As the stars came out over Silver Creek, Colt took his wife's hand and led her home, past the bronze plaque that told only part of the story, past the clinic lamp still burning for any woman in need, past the schoolhouse where Abraham Porter's grandchildren now learned their letters. They climbed the porch steps of the big white house with the yellow fence, the one Colt had promised would always be a safe harbor. Inside, 5 sleepy children and 1 loyal dog waited. Outside, the Arizona night stretched wide and free. And on the porch swing, Marshal Colton Wilcox kissed his wife under a sky full of stars, the same way he had the very first time, like it was the only thing in the world that mattered. Because it was. Some stories begin with a stolen kiss and a gunshot. This one began there too. But it never ended. It just kept growing, wider, deeper, stronger, like the roots of a cottonwood by a desert spring, reaching for water no one else can see, holding fast through drought and flood, year after year after year. And if you ride into Silver Creek today, folks will still point to the big white house on the hill and tell you about the marshal and the midwife who turned fear into family, vengeance into victory, and a single moment of terror into a lifetime of love. They'll tell you how every kiss after that first stolen one was given freely, fiercely, forever. And they'll tell you true. Some trails start in darkness, but the best ones lead straight to the light.